There's a bag of grass sitting at the end of somebody's driveway right now, and it's heavier than it looks. Not in pounds, in money. Because that bag didn't come from nowhere. Your lawn built it, out of your water, out of your sunlight, and in a lot of yards, out of fertilizer you paid for back in April. So here's the question I keep circling back to, after all these years of watching people haul this stuff to the curb. Why are we paying to grow nutrients, paying somebody to carry them away, and then paying a third time to buy them back in a plastic sack? That bag isn't waste, it's a nutrient stream. And the only real question is where you send it next. So let me give you the whole map up front, because I don't want you standing there with a bag of grass in one hand and a bucket in the other, guessing. Every batch of clippings and pulled weeds that leaves your mower has 4 honest destinations. You can leave it, right where it fell. You can brew it, turn it into a liquid plant food you pour on the soil. You can mulch it, lay it on top of the ground as a blanket, or you can build soil with it. Bury it, layer it, and let it become next year's garden bed. 4 destinations. And here is the part almost nobody says out loud. There is no single correct answer. The right choice depends on what that particular batch of grass is, and what your garden actually needs this week. So let's walk them one at a time. Destination number 1. Leave it. I know that sounds like dodging the question in a video about making fertilizer. Stay with me, because it's the cheapest win in the yard, and most people skip right past it. University of Missouri Extension puts it plainly. Grass clippings contain about 4% nitrogen, 2% potassium, and 1% phosphorus. And when you leave them on the lawn instead of bagging them, they can supply up to 25% of that lawn's total fertilizer needs. Now listen closely to that sentence, because it gets misquoted constantly. 25% of the lawn's needs, when the clippings go back on the lawn. That is not 25% of what your tomato bed wants. Different plant, different appetite, different conversation. And then there's the old objection. Won't the clippings build up into thatch? They will not. Missouri's research, and research at other universities, says clippings do not contribute to thatch. Thatch is the tough stuff. Roots, stems, crowns, runners. Clippings are 80 to 85% water. They break down fast. The one caveat is that if you already have a thatch layer thicker than half an inch, deal with that first before you start recycling clippings. So set your mower tall. Missouri recommends 2.5 to 3.5 inches for cool season grasses, like bluegrass, tall fescue, and perennial ryegrass. Cut often enough that you're only taking a little off the top. The clippings drop between the blades, disappear in a week or two, and feed the lawn that grew them. That's your baseline. But you came here to make plant food. So let's make some. Destination number 2. Brew it. This is the one that turns green material into liquid nitrogen. You can pour exactly where you want it. And I want to teach it properly, because there's a lot of confused information out there about this method. The system comes from JADAM, a Korean natural farming approach developed by Young-Sang Cho. And the first thing to fix is the ingredient list, because you'll see recipe after recipe online telling you to add molasses and calling it JADAM. That's not JADAM. Their principles are explicit. Water and leaf mold instead of sugar and molasses. Cho's position is that high sugar actually works against you, and that leaning on imported sugarcane runs against the whole point, which is using what's already on your property. So the real recipe is almost embarrassingly short. Take a container, fill it with your green material. Grass clippings, soft weeds, spent plants from the garden. Add a handful of leaf mold, that dark, crumbly, half-rotted leaf litter you find under a hedge or along a tree line. It's your microbial starter. Fill it with water. Put the lid on. That's it. JADAM says you don't even need to stir it unless the material floats. Then you wait and watch. When the material has broken down and the liquid has gone dark, it's working. Now, how long? This is where I want you to think instead of memorize. because JADAM's own writing holds two ideas at once. In hot weather, it can go quickly. Cho mentions it taking as little as 7 days in summer. But he also compares the stuff to soy sauce. The longer it ages, the better it gets. And there's a story from JADAM's own records that I want you to carry with you. A grower they call Ms. Lee used a batch that was 3 months old. She diluted it 25 times. It still killed her pepper plants. 25 to 1, and it killed peppers. So when somebody hands you a tidy little number like, always dilute 1 to 10, you now know why I don't trust it. Here's the honest version. The mistake isn't making grass fertilizer. The mistake is pretending every homemade bucket has the same strength. Yours doesn't match mine. Your July batch doesn't match your September batch. So JADAM's guidance is to keep it well diluted, and they use around 100 to 1 as a common starting reference, staying above about 30 to 1 at minimum. My advice on top of that: start weaker than you think you need. Pour it on the soil, not the leaves. Try it on 2 or 3 plants first. Wait a few days. Look at them. If they're happy, do the rest. If the leaf edges look scorched, you've got your answer, and you only lost 2 plants instead of a bed. A few practical notes, because I've watched people make this harder on themselves than it needs to be. Use a small bucket, 2 or 3 gallons, not 5. A 5-gallon bucket of water runs over 40 pounds, and nobody needs to be wrestling that at the end of a long day. Set it where you're actually going to use it so you never carry it, and dip out what you need with a cup instead of tipping the whole thing. And keep a tight lid on it, not just for the smell. Standing water with the lid off is a mosquito nursery, and that's a real problem across most of this country in July. Now here's the piece that separates people who use this well from people who use it and wonder why their garden got weird. This is a high nitrogen feed, and nitrogen tells a plant to build leaves, so it shines on lettuce, kale, chard, and spinach. It shines on anything in its young leafy stage, and on plants genuinely running short, showing you pale yellowing older leaves down low. But push nitrogen on a fruiting plant, and you get the opposite of what you wanted. Work summarized by the University of California at Davis on tomatoes says it plainly. Excess nitrogen gives you lush plants with dark green foliage and delayed maturity, more vulnerable to disease and insects, with fruit quality affected. So picture it. The same bucket that turns a lettuce bed into more salad than you can eat can hand you a gorgeous 6-foot tomato plant with almost nothing on it worth picking. Destination number 3, mulch it. If brewing is about feeding the soil, mulching is about stopping the soil from losing what it already has. And of everything in this video, this is the one where you'll see a difference fastest. Lay clippings on bare ground around your plants, and within a week or 2 you'll see it. Soil still damp 2 days after watering, instead of crusted over. Fewer weed seedlings. Ground that's cooler under your hand on a hot afternoon. And quietly, that material is turning into organic matter, right where the roots are. But there's a mistake here. That's the reason a lot of gardeners tried grass mulch once, and never again. They dumped the whole mower bag out in one wet pile. Fresh clippings are soft and mostly water, so a thick, wet layer packs down into a mat. That mat blocks air and water from reaching the soil. Decomposition goes anaerobic, and 4 days later there's a sour smell in your garden, and you're blaming the grass. The fix costs nothing. Missouri Extension's guidance is to build the layer up gradually to about 1 inch at a time using dry grass, and to keep the total mulch depth under 3 to 4 inches. They also note you can go a little thicker by mixing dry material in with the fresh clippings, roughly 1 to 1 or 2 to 1, using things like shredded dry leaves, compost, or wood chips. And here's the trick I'd hand any gardener with a driveway. Spread the fresh clippings out thin on the driveway, or on a tarp, and just leave them a day or 2. They wilt, they dry, they turn pale. Now rake them up. Now they're mulch. They won't mat, they won't stink, and it cost you 2 minutes and $0. Before we go to the last destination, Let's do the safety sort, because this takes 30 seconds, and it protects everything else. Know what was sprayed on your lawn. If you or a lawn service put down a weed killer, read that product's label. The label tells you what to do with the clippings and how long to wait, and some of them specifically say to leave the first few mowings on the lawn and keep them out of vegetable beds. Don't assume a treated clipping is safe for food crops. If you don't know the history of the material, it doesn't go in the vegetable garden. Skip weeds that have already gone to seed, because a cold bucket is no guarantee of killing those seeds, and you'll be pulling them all next summer. And be careful with the perennials that regrow from underground pieces. Bindweed, Bermuda grass, nutsedge, quackgrass. And if you're ever unsure about a batch of compost, a load of manure, or plant material somebody handed you, there's a nearly free test you can run at home with a few bean seeds that will tell you whether herbicide residue is in there. I couldn't fit the full method here without derailing us, so I wrote it out step by step, along with everything else we've covered, in a free printable guide. Scan the code on screen or use the link in the description. It's got the 4-destination decision tree, the bean test, the dilution procedure, the mulch reference, and a 1-page checklist you can tape inside the shed door. No cost, no strings. I made it so you'd have something in your hand out in the garden, where the video isn't. Destination number 4. Build future soil. Some weeks you don't have a bucket's worth of surplus. You have a truckload. That's when you stop thinking about this season entirely. This isn't feeding today's plant, it's funding next season's soil. The University of Maryland Extension describes a method that's excellent for exactly this. Late summer, pick the spot where you want a new bed next spring. Mow or trim the grass and weeds as low as you can. Lay overlapping sections of newspaper or plain corrugated cardboard over the whole area. Cover it with about 8 inches of organic material. Compost, aged manure, shredded leaves, grass clippings. And they add the same caution I just gave you. Avoid weeds with seed heads and avoid herbicide-treated turf. Then you walk away. All winter, worms and microbes work on it while you're inside. Come spring, you plant straight into it. No tilling. There's a smaller version for when you've only got a few buckets. Dig a trench in an existing bed, roughly 8 to 12 inches deep. Drop the material in, cover it back over. But be honest about the calendar. You'll see people promise a bed is ready 10 days after you bury something. Not necessarily. Oregon State's guidance is to start this several months before you want to plant, and fall is an excellent time precisely because winter does the waiting for you. How fast it breaks down underground depends on what it is, how wet, how warm, how finely chopped, and how much you piled in. Bury it and forget it, and by planting time, it'll have quietly become the best soil in the yard. So here's the rule that ties all 4 together, and it's what I want you walking away holding. If the lawn needs it, leave it. If a plant needs soluble nitrogen right now, brew it. If the soil is losing water, mulch it. If you've got more material than you have jobs for, build soil with it. And then one layer deeper, because this is the part that took me years to learn. Don't start by asking how much nitrogen this material contains. Start by asking whether the plant in front of you actually needs more nitrogen right now. Material is easy to find. Timing is what most of us get wrong. Now go back to that bag at the end of the driveway. Yesterday it was trash. Today you can look at it and see 4 different things at once. Lawn fertilizer that's already exactly where it belongs. Liquid plant food for the greens. A blanket that keeps the soil from drying out. And the beginning of a garden bed that doesn't exist yet. So stop asking, how do I get rid of this? Start asking, where should these nutrients go next? I'll be straight with you about the trade-off, because there always is one. Doing it this way puts you on your garden's schedule instead of a bag's. You mix your own. You dilute conservatively. You test on a few plants. You wait a season for the buried material. A bag from the store is faster, and it's consistent. And some seasons, that's the right call. I won't pretend otherwise. What you get in exchange is soil that gets better every single year, instead of staying exactly where it was. Grab the free guide below, so you've got it out there with you. And I want to hear from you on this one. Do you bag your clippings, or leave them? And if you bag them, I'm curious what's really driving it. Is it a homeowners association rule? Is it how the yard looks? Is it just what your father always did? Tell me down in the comments, because I have a feeling the honest reasons are a lot more interesting than the ones we usually give.